Mungo Park. Sorry, Mungo Man. Mungo Park is a popular name in some literature, English literature. Mungo Man. This one is titled Mungo Man. That is the title of this passage. Mungo Man. We have matching names questions from 1 to 8. And then we have 9 to 14 true false not given questions. So let's take it one by one. So I can see these names: Jim Bowler, Alan Thorne, PB, PDDO, Pido, Pido, Tim Flannery, Chris Stringan, Raina Gron. Okay? He was searching for ancient lakes and came across the charred remains of Mungo lady who had been cremated. Okay? Professor who holds a skeptical attitude towards reliability for DNA analysis on some fossils. Professor Wu's determination of the age of Mungo Man to be younger than the former results, which is older than the 62,000 years. Okay, number 4, determining the age of Mungo Man has little to do with controversy for the origins of Australians. Number 5, research group who recovered a biological proof of the first Neanderthal found in Europe. A supporter of the idea that Australia's megafauna was extinct due to the hunting by ancient human beings. Instead of keep arguing a single source of origin, multi-regional explanation has been raised. Okay, climate change rather than prehistoric human activities resulted in megafauna extinction. So, for the true false thought given, the Lake Mungo remains offer the archaeologists the evidence of graphic illustration of human activities around. All right, let me go to the passage and take it paragraph after paragraph now. 50,000 years ago, a lush landscape greeted the first Australians making their way towards the southeast of the continent. Temperatures were cooler than now. Megafauna. What is meaning of megafauna? Giant prehistoric animals such as marsupial lions, goanna, and rhinoceros-sized diprotodon were abundant. In other words, megafauna were abundant. Okay? The Lake Mungo remains are three prominent sets of fossils, which tell the archaeologists the story. Mungo man lived around the shores of Lake Mungo with his family. Hold on. The Lake Mungo remains offer the archaeologists the evidence of a graphic illustration of human activities around. So this thing says that what? The Lake Mungo remains are three prominent sets of fossils which tell archaeologists the story. Which story? Mungo man lived around the shores of Lake Mungo with his families. When he was young, Mungo man lost his two lower canine teeth, possibly knocked out in a ritual. He grew into a man nearly 1.7 meters in height. Over the years, his molar teeth became worn and scratched, possibly from eating a gritty diet and stripping the long leaves of water reeds with his teeth to make twine. As Mungo man grew older, his bones ached with arthritis, especially his right elbow, which was so damaged that bits of bones were completely worn out or broken away. Such wear and tear are typical of people who have used a woomera to throw spears over thousands of years. Mungo man reached a good age. Hold on. This statement here, the Lake Mungo remains offer archaeologists evidence. I think this thing is going to be true because evidence of graphic illustration of human activities around. So this thing says that what? Three sets of fossils tell archaeologists the story. Mungo man lived around the shores with his family. If I live around the shores with his family, that means lots of activities must have been taking place there. That's what I'm thinking. This thing of graphic illustration now. Graphic illustration, what does that sound like? Graphic illustration sounds like the three prominent sets of fossils because we are seeing them. Graphic talks about what you see. Talks about what you see. So let me leave it as true for now. In Lake Mungo remains, weapons were found used by the Mungo. I saw spear somewhere. Um, okay. We have used woomera to throw spears. Mungo man reached a good age for a hunter-gatherer, and when he died, he was about 50, and died when he was about 50. His family mourned for him and carefully buried him in the knollet on his back with his hand crossed in his lap and sprinkled with red ochre. Mungo man is the oldest known example in the world of such a ritual. So, well, weapons were found. Did they find weapons there? We know they saw fossils. But this issue of weapons being found, I'm not sure. I'll pick not given for this number 10. Number 11, Mungo Man is one of the oldest known archaeological evidence in the world of cultural sophistication, such as burying ritual. See, this is the part where they talked about burying the man. The oldest known archaeological evidence in the world of cultural sophistication, such as burying ritual. The oldest. This thing here says Mungo Man is the oldest example in the world of such a ritual. Well, I think this is true. No, this number 11 should be true based on this sentence that I'm putting in color green. It should be true. Number 12. Mungo Man and woman skeleton were uncovered in the same year. Okay, this treasure of let's move to the next paragraph. Was found by University of Melbourne geologist professor Jimbola in 1969. He was searching for ancient lakes and came across the charred remains of Mungo lady who had been cremated. In 1974, he found a second complete skeleton, Mungo man, buried 300 meters away. Okay. 1969, he found Mungo lady in 1969. In 1974, he found Mungo man. They were not uncovered the same year. Number 12 is false. There's controversy among scientists about the origin of the oldest Homo sapiens. Okay, using carbon dating, a technique only reliable to around 40,000 years, old. The skeleton was first estimated at 28,000 to 32,000. Okay, 28,000 to 32,000 years old. The comprehensive study of 25 different sediment layers at Mungo concludes that both graves are 40,000 years old. I've not seen this, what's it called? Homo sapiens. I've not seen it yet. So let me just go on. I've seen Jimbola. Let me check the matching features. Jimbola is option A. He was searching for ancient lakes. Yes, this one can be matched to A. He was searching for ancient, look at it here. He was searching for ancient lakes and came across the charred remain of a Mungo lady who had become, they practically lifted this entire sentence. That's Jimbola. That's option A, Jimbola. Okay, let's go on. Next paragraph now. This is much younger than the 62,000 years Mungo man attributed within 1999 by a team led by Professor Alan Thorne. Hold on. I saw something about this number 3. Professor whose determination of the age of Mungo man to be much younger than the former result, which is older than the 62,000 years. Which professor is this now? Alan Thorne. This is much younger. In other words, let me look at let's read this carefully. This, when they say this now, they are referring to this 40,000 years old. Who came up with this 40,000 years old? Professor Jimbola. So the figure that Jimbola gave us is what they are referring to as this. The figure that Jimbola gave us is, I mean, about Mungo Man, about the age of Mungo Man and what have you, is younger than 62,000 years Mungo Man, than the 62,000 years that Mungo Man was attributed with in 1999 by a team led by Alamson. Hmm. Professor whose determination of the age of Mungo Man to be much younger. That's Jimbola. That's option A. It's option A that came up with the younger age. The way they wrote this sentence is somehow to be much younger than the former results, which is older than the 62,000 years old. All right, let's go on. The modern day story of the science of Mungo also has its fair share of rivalry because Thorn is the country's leading opponent of the out of Africa theory that Homo sapiens had a single place of origin. Dr. Alan Thorne supports the multi-regional explanation that modern humans arose simultaneously in Africa, Europe, and Asia from one of our predecessors, Homo erectus, who left Africa more than 1.5 million years ago. If Mungo man was descended from a person who had left Africa in the past 200,000 years, Thorne argues, then his mitochondrial DNA should have looked like that of other samples. So there's a place that says that there's rivalry. I saw there's controversy. Number 13. Controversy is similar to rivalry. There's controversy among scientists about the origin of the oldest Homo sapiens. Yes, that's true. Some people say it's from Africa, some people say Europe, some people say Asia. So this number 13 should be true. It should be true. Um, then let me see. Alan Thorne supports the is it Alan Thorne on the list? Yeah, option B is Alan Thorne. Professor who holds a skeptical attitude towards reliability for DNA analysis on some fossils. Reliability, I'm seeing DNA here, but the issue of reliability, I'm not sure. Determining the age of Mungo has little to do with controversy of origins, no. Research group, no. Supporter of the idea, megafauna, no. Climate change, no, nothing. Let me move on to paragraph D. However, Heart of Africa supporters are not about to let go of their beliefs because of the Australian research. Professor Chris Stringer, is that name there? Yes, option E, Chris Stringer. Professor Chris Stringer from the Natural History Museum in London, UK, said that the research community would want to see the work repeated in other labs before conclusions were drawn from the Australian research. But even assuming the DNA sequences were correct, as we are seeing DNA again, Professor Stringer said it could just mean that there was much more genetic diversity in the past than was previously realized. There is no evidence here that the ancestry of these Australian fossils go back goes back goes back a million or 2 million years. It is much more likely that modern humans came out of Africa. For Bola, I saw Bola earlier on. Bola is Jim Bola, see Bola, yeah. Okay. For Bola, where is it? For Bola, these debates are irritating, speculative distractions from the study's main findings. At 40,000 years old, Mungo Man and Mungo Lady remains Australia's oldest human burials, and earliest evidence on Earth of cultural sophistication. Can you see that statement in number? Where is it now? Where is cultural sophistication? Number 11, cultural sophistication. Can you see that? Cultural sophistication. It says modern humans had not even reached North Africa by this time. In 1997, PDDO Research Group recovered an empty DNA fingerprint from Neanderthal skeleton uncovered in Germany. Hold on. There's PDTO somewhere here. Option C. Um, Number 5, research group who recovered biological proof. Yes. Number 5 can be matched to C. Number 5 can be matched to C. Then this number 4, I think I'm going to connect it to Bola. This number 4, determine the age of Mungo man has little to do with controversy of origins of Australia. Because this Bola said here that what? For Bola, these debates are irritating speculative distractions from the study's main findings. And then he gave us signing that what? At 40,000, Mungo man and Mungo lady remains Australia's oldest human burials. And the earliest evidence, he says. So, determining the age has little to do with controversy of origins of Australians. This one, I think I'll match number 4 to Bowman until I see another thing. To Bola, to Jim, to Jimbola, that's option A. Option A. Let me see the true false not given. Heart of Africa supporters have criticized Australian professors for using outmoded. I've not seen this outmoded research method yet. Let me check the next paragraph. In its 1999 study, Thorne's team used three techniques to date Mungo man at 62,000 years old, and it stands by its figures. It dated bone, teeth, enamel, and some sand. Bola has strongly challenged the results ever since. Okay, hold on. So, Professor Wood's skeptical attitude towards reliability for DNA analysis on some fossils. Is this also Bola again? This Bola is showing up a lot too. How come now? Hey, that's 3 times now. This is interesting. I need to check those ones, 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to be sure. So, Bola has strongly challenged the results ever since. Dating human bones is notoriously unreliable. Can you see that? Skeptical attitude. It says, who is the E? Bola. So this number 2 is very certain to be A. It says, as well, the sand sample Thorne's group dated was taken hundreds of meters from the burial site. You don't have to be a grave digger to realize the age of the sand is not the same as the age of the grave, says Bola. So, I think I can answer number 2 categorically. Number 2 is definitely A. Number 1 and number 3 and number 4 it looks like A too. Let me move on. Thorne counters that Bola's team used one dating technique while he used 3. The best practice is to have at least 2 methods produce the same result. A Thorne team member, Professor Rainer Gron, hold on. That's option F, Rainer Gron, option F. Can you see option F here? Professor Rainer Gron says the fact that the latest results were consistent between laboratories does not mean they are absolutely correct. We now have two data sets that are contradictory. I did not have plausible explanation. Now, however, Thorne says the age of Mungo man is relevant to the origin of this debate. Hold on. You see this thing here? The age of the Mungo man is relevant to the origins of this debate. That's number 3, the professor's determination of the age of the Mungo man. No. Number 4, determining the age of the Mungo man has little to do with the controversy for the origins of Australians. That's Thorne. Now, however, Thorne says the age of the Mungo man is relevant to the origins debate. Recent fossils find show modern humans were in China 110,000 years ago. So he has got a long time to turn up in Australia. It doesn't matter if it's... So this is... I'm going to change my mind for this number 4. I'll change it to Thorne. Where is Thorne? Option B. Option B. I'm going to change this one to Thorne. Okay, let's go on. Next paragraph. Dr. Tim Flannery, a proponent of the controversial theory that Australian megafauna were wiped out 46,000 years ago. Yeah. Megafauna, yes. Number six. That's Tim Flannery. Number six can be matched to D. Number six is D. Tim Flannery. In a blitzkrieg of hunting by arriving people, also claims that the new Mungo date supports this view. In 2001, a member of Bola's team, Richard Roberts of Wollongong University, along with Flannery, director of the South Asian, is there Richard Roberts there? Richard Roberts is not on the list. Flannery praises Bola's team's research on Mungo Man as the most thorough and rigorous dating of ancient human remains. He says the findings that humans arrived at Lake Mungo between 46,000 and 50,000 years ago was a critical time in Australia's history. There is no evidence of dramatic climatic change then, he says. Climatic, number 8 says, climate change rather than prehistoric human activities resulted in, okay, there's nothing like that. That's not what I'm reading here now. Bola, however, is skeptical of Flannery's theory and says Mungo study provides no definitive new evidence to support it. He argues that climate change at 40,000 years ago was more intense and had been previously realized and could have played the role. That's who is talking here now. Bola. Bola is the one that is matched to this number 8. Number 8 is matched to Bola. Number 8 is going to be A. This Bola is showing up a lot. Number 8 is going to be A. Number 7 says, instead of arguing on a single origin, multi-regional explanation has been raised. I saw that earlier where they talked about Africa, Europe, and something. Look at it here. Alan Thorne. That's Alan Thorne. Number 7 is Alan Thorne. Number 7 is B. Number 7 is B. So, then number 14. How African supporters have criticized Australian professors for using outmoded research methods. Let me see. Heart of Africa supporters, see it here, are not about to let go of their belief because of the Australian research. Professor Chris Stringer from the Natural History Museum in London, UK, said that the research community would want to see the work repeated in other labs before major conclusions were drawn. So this thing about research, outmoded research methods, I'm not sure. I'm not sure outmoded research method is here. Number 14, I'm going to pick not given. So I've solved everything. I've solved everything. Let me submit and see what my score is gonna be. Submit. 8.5. Wow. So which one is wrong? Number 2 is wrong. Instead of E, I picked A for number 2. Instead of E, I picked A. Let me see. Instead of E, I picked A. That's Professor Wood, a skeptical attitude. Oh, is he? Let me see. Who is that professor? Chris Stringer. How is it Chris Stringer? Skeptical attitude. I was very sure of that number 2, funny enough. Of all the answers I picked, that's the one I would say that I was most sure of for the matching names. Professor, where did I say Chris Stringer now? You see self-correction I want to do now. I want to be sure of that Chris Stringer thing. Let me search for it. String. Okay, see here in paragraph D. Heart of Africa supporters, Professor Chris Stringer, okay, said that the research community would want to see work repeated in other labs. Okay. Repeated in other labs. But even assuming the DNA sequences were correct, Professor Christinger said it could just mean that there was much more genetic diversity in the past than previously realized. There is no evidence that the ancestry of the Australian fossils goes back a million or 2 million years ago. It is more likely that modern humans came out of Africa. Option A, question two says, Professor Wood's skeptical attitude towards reliability of DNA analysis on some fossils. I don't understand how this thing is stringer. How is it stringer? How is it stringer? How is this thing called stringer? I'm trying to figure out. I've seen where they talked about stringer. This is the only paragraph that mentions stringer now. Professor Wood is skeptical attitude towards reliability for DNA analysis on some fossils. Professor Chris Stringer said that the research community wants to see the work repeated in other labs before major conclusions are drawn. But I picked bowler. Now, why did I pick bowler? So here now, let me see. Is it the reason? No, this is not the reason why I picked bowler. The next paragraph, um, Thorn team member. No, why did I pick bowler now? Alan Thorn, because Thorn is a country's leading opponent of the out of Africa theory. Okay. Let me search for DNA. I'm not really, can't remember where I saw. Okay. Thorne argues that his mitochondrial DNA should have looked like that of other samples. Okay, that's one DNA there. But assuming that DNA sequences are correct. Okay, so DNA sequences there. Wow, it seems that the answer is stringer. How did I pick Bola for this number two? I really can't remember, funny enough. All right. I think I'm going to wrap it up on that note. This recording is getting too long. But I think I did quite well. 8.5. That's a lot. So thank you very much. I think you can rewind and go and check out how I arrived at my number two. I can't really figure it out again now. All right. Thank you very much. Watch out for the next lesson.